Tom's, but not too bad, you know. I was looking forward to seeing what she was going to bring to the table. I know she talks about sports for a living, you know, on a radio show and everything, but I was going to be interested to see how she was going to be able to present her arguments and, you know, the reasons why.
Let's get right into it. Does an athlete need to win a championship before being considered one of the all-time greats? Sean?
Yes, they definitely have to have championships under their belts before being considered the greatest of all time. Simply put, that's the standard that athletes are measured by fans, critics, and their legacies. You know, you look at Michael Jordan, 6 championships. You look at Wayne Gretzky, 4, Mark Messier, 6. These are all greats, but at the end of the day, athletes who haven't won championships aren't looked at in the same way. Karl Malone, 2nd leading scorer of NBA history, and John Stockton, the all-time assist leader. But at the same time, they're not talked about in the same way that the other greats of the game, like Bird, Magic, Jordan, Bill Russell, those kind of guys, they're just not talked about in the same way. So I think you have to have championships under your belt to legitimize your legacy and being talked about as, you know, the GOAT, the greatest of all time.
Do you agree?
Actually, I disagree. The way that I've kind of looked at this is I've split it up into 2 things.
A lot of this competition had to do with what you thought the other person was going to pick. So, you know, you kind of have to go on the other side of that. I figured Sean would pick yes, so I started making up a list for why I would pick no.
My look at this is in a team sport, because a team sport is, in my opinion, harder than an individual sport. So you don't see, like a 3rd-string quarterback, he'll still get the Super Bowl ring, but he won't ever be considered one of the greats. And you just have to, I think that you have to kind of look at individual talents on a team. For instance, would Sidney Crosby ever have a cup if Cabby and I were his wingers? Probably not. It's 2% of all NHL assists are unassisted. So every time that that you can kind of give out an assist to somebody, it means that your teammate had to help you out with it. So I don't think that you do have to win a championship to overall be considered one of the greatest of all times.
Sorry, did you mean 2% of all goals are unassisted?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, you said 2% of all assists are unassisted.
Oh, sorry, 2% of all goals are unassisted. Yeah.
Even though I was a little nervous on the first topic, I still feel like I got out all my points that I wanted to get across, and I think that my knowledge still shone through.
You look at LeBron James. If he was hit by a bus tomorrow, he would still be considered one of the greats of all time. And I think right now he's even in top 3.
I don't see how that's possible. Michael Jordan with 6 championships. You've got Larry Bird with 3. You have Bill Russell with 11. Heck, he had so many rings he could give one to Barkley. He doesn't even have enough fingers for all the rings he has.
Let's move on. Topic number 2. All right, I'll start with you, Meg, on this one. In your estimation, who is the most influential sports figure of our time?
Well, the way that I kind of broke it down was into 4 categories. The most important one being, did the person change society, be a role model, influence in that kind of way? The second one was, are they an ambassador for their sport? Did they grow the sport? The third is individual stats, and the 4th would be, did they win? So my overall person for who influenced the most was Wayne Gretzky.
As much as I like Wayne Gretzky, Megan, I have to disagree. Michael Jordan is definitely my pick as the athlete who has been able to transcend sport.
You want to jump in?
Yeah, I have to disagree, because Michael Jordan didn't have the squeaky clean past. He was a womanizer as well. So I think because of that, you're not the best role model. Wayne Gretzky, this was kind of my next point, was as far as being an ambassador for the sport and everything like that, when he went to LA, people were lining up to buy their season seats. And within a decade, he was the one that moved the league from 21 teams to 30 teams. And if that's not influencing a league, then I don't know what is.
Michael Jordan, on his own, with his ability to win championships, win MVPs, he is a 6-time champion, 5-time MVP, 14-time All-Star. I mean, Michael Jordan's been retired for 7 years. The guy gets more Google hits still than the country of Jordan. A lot of players right now are looking at Michael Jordan as the reason why they're playing the game.
Gretzky and Jordan, I mean, come on, it's too easy. Our time, like, they retired in like 98, 99. They have nothing to do with our time. We're here at the Score. This is our time. 97 to 2010, our time.
After the last elimination, Greg said, you know, I'm sticking my neck out for you. You need to step up. And I feel like I really got across my sports knowledge, so I was really happy about that. But I have no idea what they're going to say in that elimination ceremony. So I'm stressing about it.
Okay, here we go.
Austin and myself were waiting there. We were the last group to go. And I'm usually nervous heading in. Not that I'm a nervous type of guy to begin with, but it's not nerves that'll affect me during the performance. It's just nerves that are in me. You know, they're in everybody.
Right on. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Cue Greg. Ready, 3, take.
Let's get right to it, and let's start with this question. Does a professional athlete need to win a championship before being considered one of the greatest of all time? Austin.
Absolutely not, Greg. I've always been a huge Miami Dolphins fan, and the first person I think of who's one of the greatest of all time and never won a championship is Dan Marino. He had his opportunity his second year, Super Bowl 19, got blown out by the Niners. But, you know, he has held over 30 different passing records in the NFL, including the career passing record of 61,361 yards.
I agree with Austin completely. I mean, when I look at does a professional athlete need to win a championship, I break down what is one of the greatest athletes. So Austin has won a bunch of challenges, and up until prior to this challenge, he was the front runner. So I was pumped to go. I mean, I was ready to go. I was definitely ready to go. I'll give you the example of Jim Kelly, right? I mean, this guy brought the Buffalo Bills to 4 straight Super Bowls from 90 to 93. And if Scott Norwood wasn't his kicker in the first one, you know, we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Although that wasn't a chip shot.
No, nonetheless, but Scott Norwood should have made that kick.
Okay, so in the case of Dan Marino, because that is pretty much the classic example of a guy who never won a championship. So when you look at the numbers that Austin just talked about, and championships aren't part of the equation, would you make an argument that Dan Marino is the greatest quarterback of all time?
I would not. I would not agree with that. Personally, in my opinion, Peyton Manning is the greatest quarterback of all time. And the only reason I say that is because eventually he'll break all the records as long as Brett Favre stops playing. But at the end of the day, this is a man who basically changed the game in terms of audibling. There were no audibles before Peyton Manning stepped to the line of scrimmage. I think the defenses changed their game for Peyton Manning.
I think we have to take into account the facts. Certainly, Peyton Manning is on pace, it appears, if he can stay healthy. I'd rather debate the facts than numbers.
Greg told me during the last elimination, you guys are laughing at some of my lines and stuff, which is what I always bring, but can you change levels if you need to? And I felt that yeah, I want to show that I can be articulate and professional and have a conversation about sports. I felt like I did that.
Who knows where Peyton Manning's going to be? Who knows what happens this season? All I can say is that Dan Marino, certainly, his numbers would indicate by the numbers that he certainly could be the best quarterback of all time.
So would you make that argument? You would say that Dan Marino is the greatest quarterback of all time?
I can make a great case for it due to the number of records he has, the number of records he's held.
I felt like he took away from himself a bit. I felt like he held back. I mean, he had his points, but they weren't convincing. I mean, I felt like when he was arguing a point, he didn't believe in that point sort of thing. I don't know why. I never saw that from him before. He stuttered for the first time that I'd seen, and I know we all did, but coming from him, coming from someone who I expected to sort of flow with me, not agree, but flow with me, I was taken aback from his hesitation.
All right, let's move on to our second topic. I'll start with you, Rick. Who do you think has had the most influence of any sports figure, the most influential sports figure of our time?
In my mind, you know, this is someone who not only transcended sports, changed sports, but had an impact on culture. So I went, you know, due to his recent passing, I went with George Steinbrenner. That's who I chose for the most influential
influential sports figure of our time?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'll tell you why. Now, Steinbrenner came in 1973. When free agency first started in baseball, okay, he had signed 10 free agents for $38 million, including Mr. October Reggie Jackson. Now, before you had Daniel Snyder or Glenn Sather picking up everyone off the market, you had George Steinbrenner doing that. Let's look back and see he changed managers 20 times in 23 years. Fired and hired Billy Martin 5 times.
But is that that influence going beyond the Yankees? I'll let you get in here because it sounds like you disagree with this.
Oh, yeah, I do disagree with that selection because I think it has to be somebody who has a global impact. We're talking about sports around the world, so I think it has to be somebody with a global impact person. I'll let you get back to your point.
He has a bigger impact than just that. I mean, let's look at it from a grooming standpoint, right? The reason we're here, Gillette drafted 2. This is a man who would not play Don Mattingly because he sported a mullet in 1991. He was the first guy to say grooming matters in terms of importance. So if you're looking good, he wasn't going to play, you know, and he got heat for that. This is a man.
What influence did that have?
Just in terms of grooming in general. Let's go over his effect on pop culture, right? Now, first of all, Seinfeld, right? What other sports figure we don't even see on television is put in an episode, a television show, with such a global impact, such as Seinfeld? I mean, this is George Costanza's boss, right?
George Steinbrenner. I mean, that's a horrible answer. I just think it's the stupidest answer, and his points weren't even any good. Talking about grooming? How is it influential? It just, I don't know.
I'm not buying into the Seinfeld argument, and if that's the case, I mean, all of a sudden the soup Nazi has had more impact on the world of food than anybody. It's just a weird
culture statement to how he's more than just sports. I mean, he was on Saturday Night Live in 1990. I feel like, you know, when you stick your neck above the water, you're going to get criticism to some degree, no matter what you say. Like, I got to come from somewhere to prove myself with knowledge, because that's what I'm about. So that's why I took Steinbrenner.
And who do you think?
I obviously have a different selection. To me, it has to be somebody who has, you know, shifted cultural boundaries, who's gotten rid of race, creed, color, somebody who has created a global brand. And that person is the CEO and chairman of World Wrestling Entertainment, Vincent Kennedy McMahon. He has created a brand that has the most passionate fans and encompasses people just around the world, different ethnicities. He's created passion.
I agree with you to a certain extent. He's definitely an entrepreneur. He's definitely influential.
But
what would you say to the guy who goes, I'm never going to watch wrestling one day in my life. That stuff's fake. I'd rather watch a real sport. What do you say to a person like that?
I say to him 145 countries and 30 different languages, the amount of people around the world, and the people watching the show right now have just been watching Monday Night Raw, and there are a lot of people watching right now who feel the passion that Vince McMahon brings and who consider it the best, purest form of sports and entertainment.
To me, it's a subjective question, but if you choose a certain person and at least you provide evidence for it, to me, you can't rag on someone if you said, hey, that's my opinion, and I've given you reasons. I gave you reasons globally for Vince McMahon. He's broken down barriers, and I felt very passionate about it. But I tried to get across passionately, but not like yelling and screaming, you know? So that was kind of my strategy with that, because I felt it. I felt it. But with Rick, I didn't understand why for Steinbrenner.
I didn't even think of Steinbrenner. And he said it to me like the you were going to I like him.
Coming up on Gillette Drafted 2, the finalists took their turns, but now the judges have their chance to debate on who should be going home.
Are you suggesting we're cutting 2 people? Maybe.
I completely disagree with you.